Welcome to Your Career Story podcast, a show that's designed for rockstar professionals looking for that extra booster shot of confidence in their careers. Whether you're trying to get clarity on a job transition, want some work-life balance inspiration, or need a strategy to snag that promotion or raise, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Jenna Viviano, ex-Wall Streeter turned startup junkie who now coaches hundreds of clients, empowering them to take back control of the job search and land their dream job. So sit back, grab a glass of wine, and prepare yourself for your weekly boost of career confidence. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Your Career Story podcast. I am so excited to be bringing my next guest on today. As you know, we are in season 2 of this podcast series, and we're talking all about work-life balance. And today we're going to talk about what it looks like whenever you have a space that's really unorganized and you're really stressed, and how to reorganize it back. So we have from the Tidy Cottage, Katie Krupnik here today. Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So we actually got connected because Elizabeth was our mutual web designer. And so I saw your stuff and I was like, she's very interesting. I am not an organized person. I need to have her come on the podcast.
That's so awesome. Elizabeth's great. And
she's amazing.
You loving my website.
Yes. We have the same designer. And so she's actually, she's going to be on at the end of this season. Actually, we're going to be talking about like working from home and what that looks like and how to prioritize time.
She's so good at that.
She is the best at it, like beyond the best. I'm like, you put me to shame. You are so organized. You have like 15 podcasts done in advance and I have barely done 2. You know?
She really does. Yeah. She's like definitely an Enneagram 6 if you're into that. It's like all
yes,
the systems.
She is. She is an Enneagram 6. So why don't you introduce yourself in a more verbose way? Who are you? What do you do?
Okay, so I'm a mom of 3 and I'm a wife to a husband and a business owner. And I just really love systems, and I'm not an Enneagram 6, I'm an Enneagram 3, but I still love systems. I love making it practical for your life though. Like we're all so busy and we don't want to be cleaning our house. We don't want to be living in clutter, and we want to be doing better things, right? We want to be doing better in our job, or spending time with our friends or with our family, or exploring our next like bucket list item. We don't want to be focused on the clutter in our home, and it's taking away from our lives. And same with our offices too. So how can we optimize our life without like having to focus on the clutter? That's what I'm fascinated about.
That's awesome, because that is so not my gifting. And it 100% is true, though. I've always made the joke to people. I used to live in New York City, and my best friends my roommates would come into my room. They're like, what's going on in your heart? Because if there was clothes on the floor, like you can always tell the state of my heart by what my room looks like. So there was like a time when there was like probably I hadn't done laundry. This is shameful because I have a ton of clothes. But I probably hadn't done laundry for like 3 weeks or something like that, because I was just like, I can't deal with it. It's stressing me out. I just can't deal with it right now. And the clothes were just mounting up in my room. It's super embarrassing, but it happened. Sorry, Mom. And I just could not get myself out of it. So I do think that there is some connection point between stress levels and what your environment looks like. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree. I think mental health and physical health and your space and how it looks and feels is all correlated.
So talk to me about, how was the Tidy Cottage birthed?
Good question. I've done a lot of different things, like administratively and just like socially, like in my businesses previously. And I was looking for something with flexibility. My husband and I had just finished having kids, and I was ready for more. Like I was not satisfied. I just didn't feel settled just staying at home, and the kids were starting school. So it was like, what can I do to make an impact, use my gifts, and still have a flexible schedule? And
I love that. That's honestly why I kind of started my business too, in a way. I was thinking, I'm not married, don't have any children, but that was a thought in my head. I said, one day I want to have kids, and I know myself, and I know I'll probably get a little bit bored if I'm just home. Yeah. And so how can I already preemptively prepare for that, where I can have a flexible schedule and then also provide an impact? So I'm totally with you there.
That's so good. Such a planner. I
guess I'm more of a planner than I thought. Maybe I am.
Yeah. And so I had just finished reorganizing my whole family's house over the summer. I was just tired of the clutter, and, things accumulate in our home so quickly. So I was just really passionate and on fire about that. So my husband was just joking that I should start an organizing business. And I was like, is that a thing? Like, really? Ha ha ha. Like, it's just my hobby.
Right.
And I started researching and Pinteresting and Googling, and there's associations for it. There's real businesses, like there's a whole industry behind it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. And I joined the business association for it and started learning the professional ways to do it and turned it into a business.
That's amazing. I love that. I feel like I talk to a lot of business owners and I feel like it's very similar. How'd you get into this? I fell into it. It just kind of happened. There's very few people who are like, I had this idea and I wrote a business plan. Then I followed through on the business plan. Like that is a large minority. Yeah. And so for people that are listening and you're thinking about starting something, but you're too scared because you don't have a business plan in order, just start doing something and you learn along the way. And you kind of figure out how to evolve with your business as it starts to grow. I love that. So you're a mom of 3, a wife, and you've got this growing business and you're trying to do new things with it, get more creative with it. I'm asking everybody this season, what does work-life balance look like to you then?
I think there are seasons where work needs to be the focus. And then there are seasons where family needs to be the focus or like your personal life. And I think that's okay. Like I don't think that it exists where you can have it all at the same time. And I think that's okay. As long as you're in rhythm with what you want your life to be, then I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I don't think there's a formula. That's kind of what I've realized. And then especially asking everybody on this season this question, I've asked a lot of people and everybody has a different answer. And I think it really just comes down to what are your goals, what are your priorities, and then fitting the balance in based off of that. And not looking around left and right. So a lot of people, I think, will expect, okay, I want a formula for this, do X, Y, Z, and then I will have work-life balance. It's just, life is too nuanced. And so it's irrational for us to think that. That's awesome. So why do you think that a tidy space is necessary? I mean, I know personally, if I feel like my space is clean, my head is clean and clear, and I get clarity. What about for you? Why do you think a tidy space is necessary for people, especially busy professionals?
I think it just optimizes your opportunities in life. If you're not worrying about your space, if you're not worrying about what clothes you're going to wear today, you're going to have a better day. So if you can do that throughout your whole day, if you can find exactly what you need in your office, imagine how much better your day is going to be. So I say we have these little headaches in our life that are in our spaces. So like you walk in, you set your keys down, but your like key tray isn't there. That's a headache. Yeah. That's distracting you from the life you want to live. But it feels too nuanced. It doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't matter. But we have all these things that don't matter, and that adds up to a big headache for us. So if we can eliminate all of those, then imagine how much better every day can be for us, and how much more we can get done in our businesses, how much more we can get done on the weekends. You know, how much more time can we spend with our friends and family? It all adds up.
I love that. I never thought about it like that, but that's so true. There's small little things. You mentioned the key situation. I mean, that's 100% true. If you have that small thing, you're thinking about it in the back of your head, even if you're thinking it's not that big of a deal. Or like me, for instance, I walked into my apartment this morning after doing yoga, and I walked in, and I like to do things in this. You're going to laugh at me. So I'm the person who like will do my laundry, but leave it in the dryer for a really long time.
That is, that's very common.
So I'm like, oh, it was the first thing that came in mind. I got to fold that laundry. But I didn't do it in that moment. It just was on the top of my mind. So it's a psychological and behavioral change, too, to make things from untidy and cluttered to tidy. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
So what are some things that we can do to help with that?
I would say the first step that I always recommend is assess your goals. Like, what do you want to be able to do that your home is stopping you from being able to do? Or same with your office. Right. If you're wanting to do yoga and come home to a tidier home, like that's a goal for you. But there's probably something deeper, like having a goal of always having your laundry done so you can feel what X is. But just getting so you can down feel more to at peace. Part of it.
Yep.
And what will happen if you feel more at peace? Maybe you'll be more in a meditative mind, or maybe you'll be able to do something greater. There's always an end goal that people have. And that should be your motivation, not the clothes, but it should be what you can do because of that. And that's it's weird. It's deeper. It's way deeper than you think that it is on the surface.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I had a conversation with a friend recently. She's actually on this series as well. Her name's Lauren, and she's a life coach. And I was kind of telling her about this. It's always been a stressor for me. I've never been a particularly tidy person. I'm very tidy with, like, I am the person that has a calendar that is in my Google Calendar is 30-minute increments. Like, I am so scheduled out. I'm very organized there. I'm very organized in my business. I am not organized in my home space. And she goes, what if you thought about it as self-care?
Yeah.
Like that cleaning up your space is actually self-care and not a chore. So a lot of us, I think of cleaning up as a chore, right? It's not like for a lot of people, it's not an enjoyable experience. It's not a pleasurable experience.
Yeah,
and so it feels like, it goes to the bottom of my list. I want nothing to do with it. But if you kind of flip it on its head and look at it instead of the perspective of, hey, this is self-care. This is going to make me more effective and efficient in my work. I can get behind that because I'm an Enneagram 3 as well. And I am all about efficiency.
Yeah, definitely. Efficiency is key.
So specifically at work, we think about, people are in cubicles or people are in, or even just like their home offices. What would you recommend are like some starting points? So the goal is like the first thing, like what will this do for you to be tidy, right? So that perspective. But then what are some like tactical or tangible things that people can do to help clear up their spaces a little bit more?
I would say first step, clear the paper. Like we let paper stack up and we think that we need things more than we do. Like even receipts, like business receipts, take a picture and throw it away. And even if you don't organize the pictures, right, your receipts till the end of the year, if you're a procrastinator, maybe like me, at least you don't have 500 receipts for the year, like just scattered around your office. At least it's just digital clutter instead of paper clutter then. But just eliminating paper, I cannot tell you how much I've seen the worst of the worst. And you don't want to be 20 years in with 50 file boxes or 100 file boxes of paper that really you could just set on fire. It does not matter anymore. Really.
Burn it up.
Yeah. It feels so important to us to retain these documents, but in reality, 90% of them do not matter. They don't.
Do you recommend where to put it?
Them.
The ones that we feel like we need. Do you recommend like where to upload it to?
If you're going to keep it in paper, some people are paper people. For those people, I recommend having a file system. And file system feels like a chore, but it makes life so much easier. And if you don't like doing it, I recommend setting a timer maybe once a week and just doing it for like 30 minutes a week and just getting it done. And don't worry about getting it perfect or making it. I think a lot of times what overwhelms us is that we feel like it has to be a certain way. And it just eliminating that expectation for yourself and just getting it done and not caring about the end result as much, that will help you get through the overwhelmed feeling. So setting a timer, not worrying about if you finish it. If you're going the digital route, which I would totally recommend, just getting a scanner and scanning it in right away or taking a picture and organizing the pictures. I would recommend doing like a Google file or some people like Dropbox and just organizing it by month or having just a drive filled with, or whatever your system is.
Yeah. Do you recommend Evernote? I use Evernote.
A lot of people use Evernote and I haven't really dived into that.
Okay.
I feel like it feels daunting for some people. But if you love it, I've heard great things about it. And I know other organizers like Simply Spaced, they use Evernote and they collaborate with them as well. So if you love Evernote, go for it. But if you're looking for just like a basic file system, just Google Docs or even your home one.
That's awesome. So after paper, what happens next? What would you recommend?
After paper, eliminate things that don't matter to you. So we all have things that we have mentally checked off. Like, I don't want this anymore, but it never leaves our homes and it never leaves our offices. So actually taking those items out of your office when you don't want them or need them anymore. So we have books, business books we've meant to read that we will never read, maybe old trophies or paper certificates and stuff that don't matter, or we just collect things like little knick-knacky things. Or even pens. Like we have our favorite pens and then we have like the backup pens and then we have the backup of the backup. And then we have the pens that are just terrible. So just eliminating the layer, just keeping your favorites and eliminating the backups of things at your desk.
Yeah.
Same with notepads. We have the same thing with notepads.
I have about 20 notepads. Although I will say
yeah.
I've gotten a lot better of consolidating, and I really predominantly only use Moleskine, and I have one for my journaling and then one for like business to-do list. And I've got it down to that. So which I feel is pretty good for me because I'm a paper person. I do like writing things down on a piece of paper. So for me, I love having all of my physical journals that I can look back years from now and say, oh my gosh, look what God has done in my life, or look what I was dealing with then and look how I've come through it. So that to me is really important. But yeah, I've gotten it down because I was definitely a hoarder of notebooks for sure.
That's so good. Yeah. And so when you have things that you love in your space, like those journals that you want to reflect on, like let that be the highlight of your office and don't let it be cluttered with all of these other things that don't matter to you, right? Like you can look at just those journals and have a happy feeling, right? About what you've experienced and how far you've come. But if it's like it mixed in with all of these things that don't matter, like all these books that don't matter or notebooks that are your backup of backups, it doesn't feel as good. You're not going to get that happy feeling.
I feel like summer is a great time to do this type of exercise. For me, I'm taking some time off. I just came off a couple of months of just being really crazy with work. And so I have decided that I'm going to take some time off. And actually, one of the first things that I wrote down was clean out my closet because it's a mess. And the other thing was to actually like organize a lot of stuff that has been very unorganized, specifically when it comes to work, like papers and just feeling like overwhelmed by my space, even though I live in this really tiny apartment, which is probably why I feel overwhelmed because I live in this tiny apartment and all of my stuff is like way too much all over the place. And I feel like it doesn't have a spot. What do you recommend for people who then, decide, okay, I've decided to purge. How do we maintain that? Because I feel like that is my biggest struggle is how do we actually continue the perpetual tidying up, if you will?
How do you make it last?
Yeah.
So the first step I definitely recommend is decluttering, which it sounds like you're excited to do. And a lot of us are excited to like eliminate the weight off of our lives, right? And I would say also at any stage in your life, whether you have a giant house or a tiny house, you will always feel there is a moment, if you're not careful, which a lot of us are not, including myself, but we just collect stuff and your home will fill up no matter how big or how small. So yes, like your home is small now and it's filled up, but the same thing will happen later on if you're not creating habits that eliminate that buildup. To maintain it, so after you declutter, you need to create systems that will last you. So I say work with your habits that you have now. Like if you don't like folding laundry, then we need to make a system to where it eliminates having to fold as much laundry. Like maybe that means hanging things up right away or getting like a rack where you can hang it right from your dryer, but making it as practical as possible for what you already do on a daily basis. So an example of that is if you have a garage and you have a mudroom next to your front door, but you come in through the garage, most likely you're going to be setting things down by the garage and you're not going to walk around to the front door to set your stuff down. It will not make sense to utilize that mudroom next to the front door if you're gonna land everything next to the garage door. It's just not. No matter how pretty it is, no matter how Pinteresty it is, no matter how
it needs to be practical
how much
too.
you want to, and you have a yearning for it, it's not going to happen. So just assessing what is realistic for you. Wherever you set your clothes down, like letting the hamper be where that is, and not trying to force yourself into a whole new lifestyle because you want it to look pretty.
Right. I think that's really important because it is so easy to fall into the, oh my gosh, it has to look a certain way. It has to be perfectly perfect. I have to do it this way versus being like kind of adopting to your own way you handle things in general so that it kind of comes alongside that and you're able to actually keep it going.
Yeah.
Because you explaining the folding the laundry piece, I'm like, ooh, I want to know how to do that because that will actually make me want to fold my laundry better. Either that or I have to get like one of those massive, I don't know if your parents did this when you were a kid. When we were a kid, my mom got this massive calendar and we had to do our chores. And if we did our chores, we got a sticker. And so like, I feel like I need to do that for myself because I'm so bad at it.
If that helps you, go for it.
I need rewards. Rewards.
Yeah. But accept who you are, if you need rewards, do it. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So specifically when it comes to busy professionals, I know we were chatting a little bit before we hit record. You said busy professionals are kind of the people that you often work with, and that's kind of your bread and butter. What do you see as the biggest like mindset issues that people who are busy professionals have around when it comes to tidying up?
I would say the little headache thing, because we're so focused on our goals in our business and then our maintaining friendships and maintaining family relationships that we often allow ourselves to just become second place and just be focusing on goals, right? Outside of the home.
Preach. I mean, that's me 100%. Yes.
Yeah. Enneagram 3s, like we're all about that.
I struggle so much with that. I realized that the other day too. I was talking to my boyfriend and I said, I realized why I don't like cooking because it feels inefficient to me. So I'm like, that's terrible, but that's my real reason for not liking to cook because it feels inefficient. And I could be getting so many other things done for my business. He just kind of looked at me. He's like, true. We probably need to work on that. So that I say overcoming that mindset and shifting it to where it does matter. It does impact my day. It does make a difference. And just really doing a lot of cognitive, like behavioral CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, like shifting our mindset. Like it does matter where your keys go. It does matter if we can find the remote. It does matter if we can have a home cooked meal and really appreciate, the time you're spending. And just like shifting that mindset I think is the biggest thing, because we're so, like you said, we're so busy and we have so many other things pulling at our time that it doesn't feel like it would make that big of an impact. But it really will. It really will make a huge impact. Yeah. I think even it's kind of funny you say that. I think about time and how we become more of a technological generation, right? It's supposed to make us more efficient and we should have more time. We should have more time by all the things that make things less time to do, right?
Right.
But I feel like all we've done is just insert more things into that time that we were supposed to be relaxing.
Yes.
And so I love this idea of, because you are so correct, those little things do add up and it is still nagging at you. It's like a choice that you are choosing not to make. And it's still like in the back of your head that if your space is not feel comfortable, it does not feel at rest, you will never be at rest when you're at home. Right. And so that I think is a huge thing. Whether you're in the office, your space there probably will make you feel really manic. If I was talking to somebody recently and they're switching office buildings and she goes, this guy has been here for a long time and he has so much crap. He has so much crap that he's just built up over time. And I think it's even easy in the office spaces in our cubicles, or if we were I used to be on when I worked at the Muse, I used to be on one of those shared desks. This stuff would just clutter up so easily because we wanted to, we just got busy with our day and everything was everywhere. So is there things like at the end of the day that you can even recommend for people at their desks to make them feel more at ease in the morning when it comes to tidying up their space when they come into the office for the next day?
I would say just like at home, like a good starting place is having an empty sink every night. Like that's what a lot of cleaning people say, just start with an empty sink, So I would say start with clearing the paper off your desk every night, whether that's putting it in a tray or filing it away, but just clearing, like starting your day with a clear desk and ending with a clear desk, like maybe even putting it in your calendar that you're just going to take 5 minutes at the end of the day and then just clear, like get the cups off of your desk, like all the wrappers, like the things that we just kind of like pick up throughout the day, and just taking 5 minutes to just tidy it up. So at least it feels clean, even if it's not like perfectly organized.
I love that. That's such great advice. For you personally, when you get to go into clients' house, I bet it's really fun for you. What's your most favorite part about working with clients? Mine is a little more philosophical. I love when clients start to shift their mindset and they start seeing what's important to them and what they should let go of without me having to direct them in that. And they are like, oh, I don't need 3 brooms. I just need, 2 or 1 broom. And they're like already ready to hand over and donate certain things at the beginning of our session together. Yeah. That's like, it's such a joy. But I also love like the before and after, I love going into like a really, like the space is overwhelming for the client, but I see the end result, then the possibilities there already. So I get really excited. And if it's like a smaller project I can do in a day, it's just, so exciting. It's so exciting to get everybody organized. Do you start with a specific room, or let's say you're doing a whole house and someone has hired you to help them do their whole house, is there a specific room you start with? I'm just curious.
I always talk through what is going on in their lives. And when they're talking to me, they usually will say the room a few times that is most frustrating to them without realizing it. And unless I would say do not start with an office because paperwork takes forever and you're not going to see a big difference. Like it'll probably take a couple hours to go through like one baker box. What are those called? File boxes?
Yeah, file boxes. Mm-hmm.
It takes like a couple hours to go through one of those. And even though it's eliminating a lot of emotional clutter, like paperwork is pretty emotionally heavy most of the time.
That is so true. I never thought about it like that. That's 100% true. It has a lot of emotions attached to it.
Yeah. But then it's like you've got rid of all of those emotions, but you only got rid of one box. So starting with that is pretty discouraging. But I would say closets and pantries are normally a really fun first step. And it's inspiring for the rest of the home.
I love that. That's awesome. I think that would be really fun to see somebody like taking ownership of their space. I'm even thinking about it for myself. I think this is going to be an activity. I'm going to re-listen to this podcast before it goes live, and I'm going to use it as my inspiration when I'm going through my purging of my apartment and just reorganizing and deep cleaning and just getting my space in a good place. Because I do believe that I have found that when my space feels really good, I'm usually thriving in my business and personal lives. And when that is in disarray, the rest of my life is also in disarray because I don't feel like I can be at rest when I'm at home. And so even like working from home too can feel really overwhelming. I think that's a really big issue I find with a lot of people that work from home. It's like, do you have any advice on that in terms of tidying and making sure that you are kind of separating that space really well? And, or, when it does come time to tidy up, how do you manage that?
I would say it's something that this is something I struggle with as well, just because I tend to want to have to do it all in my home, right? If I'm home. And again, I feel like I have to do it all in my business at the same time. So really being clear with yourself about what the boundaries are, like even taking 5 minutes and saying like, these are my top 3 priorities, and just tuning out the rest of the world per se, and like choosing to focus. Even so, one phrase that I like to say, and I need to like do something with this for my business, but be at peace with the imperfection.
I love that.
That's something that is so hard for us to do. Like we are go-getters. We are going after it, right? In our businesses and our lives. And perfection is always the goal. I feel like it's always the next thing. It's always the next thing. And if we are not having perfection in our home or perfection in our business or perfection in our personal lives, our idea of that, then it eats at us a little bit. So it's like whatever's not done in our business, whatever's not done or perfectly organized or set up well in our space, it's going to eat at us unless we choose to just be at peace with it. It's okay. Like, right. And this is what I'm dealing with right now in my home. We just moved from Arizona to Texas, and
that's a big move.
It's a huge move. And it's been a big adjustment, just adjusting our home and also my business at the same time and having to unpack and deal with the kids. And I have to be at peace with the mess right now and the chaos. Like there's just going to be a transition time no matter how smoothly it goes. So it's just choosing to be at peace with it. And then also creating some good habits for myself to where I feel filled, even if my space or my business isn't running perfectly. So what can I do to fill my tank so that way I'm not depending on something else to make me feel good?
I love that. That's such great advice. Do you have any resources that we should know about or things that you feel like would help people? Let's say that they want to get into this and they want to kind of dive in and are like, okay, I am convinced. I realize my space is a mess. It's probably impacting my mental health. It will probably help me with better work-life balance. Are there any fun resources that we should know about that you've kind of created or even just ones that are out there that you recommend?
So this next month, I'm going to be working on adding content to my website, but I would just say, so definitely go there, but just start if you're looking for like cleaning schedules and more cleaning versus organizing, which is like, mopping floors and things like that. Clean Mama is a great resource. And,
awesome.
Fly Lady is the name of another one. She's the one that always talks about having a clean sink at the end of the day. But really any organizer, the home edit is a giant organizer. They just look pretty. Like they are the ones where
it's like, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks beautiful. It's probably not realistic for everyday people, but it's good to aspire to. If you're looking for like pretty containers, like the Container Store also has awesome stuff, and their stuff isn't not all of it super expensive. It feels like it all is, but it's not. There's some really good stuff. And then some cool. Like small there's other big organizers like Simply Spaced, Life in General, Practically Perfect LA. The Organized Mamas is, she's a friend of mine from Chicago. She has a lot of great content too. There's a lot of organizers out there if you just start Googling, and Instagram #organizer or professional organizer, and you'll find. If you're going minimalistic route, which is a whole different thing.
Oh man.
The minimalists. Yeah. Joshua Baker is a minimalist. He has courses. Shira Grill has closet organization classes too from time to time.
Okay.
There's a lot. So
there's a lot out there. Okay. We're going to put some of those resources in the show notes so that y'all have them and can kind of click through and see some of the ones that you had mentioned. But that's really helpful because I honestly wouldn't even know where to look. That was, even when I was deciding I know a topic we need to talk about, I was like, I don't know where to find somebody. So I'm glad that we got connected. And so it's helpful to have just those resources in general. How can they get connected to you? So you mentioned your website, which we'll have in the show notes. Well, how else would be a good way to connect with you?
I have Instagram and Facebook, and I will hopefully be launching online courses soon. So hopefully those will be out. And I have my contact information on my website. So if you have any questions, like feel free to DM me, feel free to text or call or email, any of that. I love hearing inspirations too. If you get inspired by this, like feel free to DM a before and after. I love seeing that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm actually going to do that myself as part of this fun project and in line with this podcast to show everybody that, hey, it's possible and it's actually going to help you with better work-life balance. So, Katie, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your wisdom. And I think you've inspired me that it really, and affirmed that it really does make a difference in terms of the health of your mental space, but also of your business or career, whatever that may look like for you if you're a busy professional. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for listening to Your Career Story podcast. I would love to get to meet you. And there are a couple of ways that we can connect in between episodes. First and foremost, you know I love my LinkedIn. Second is via Instagram. And third is over on my website. I actually have a special spot just for you full of fun, free resources. So all you have to do is go to www.jennaviviano.com/resources. Super simple for a bunch of freebies that will help you boost your career. Hope to see you next week.